Razabani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Eddie, Chisora for Prime Minister, maybe?
Yeah, the problem is with the Boris Johnson face on, he was a little bit calmer, wasn't he? He wasn't really up for a tear-up, but no, all good, he's ready to go. I mean, you never know what Derek's going to do, but we know what he's going to do in the ring, which is, give absolutely everything he's got tomorrow night. I know people talk about, and he talks about, winning, losing. Let's be honest, he needs to win tomorrow night. Pulev looks in great shape, very confident. I think he's the favourite going in, Kubrat Pulev. But Derek's got to set a fast pace early and make it uncomfortable for him.
When you say he needs to win, does it also depend how he loses as well? Like if it's dramatic...
It would be a fourth defeat. I mean, he would have lost to Usyk, Joseph Parker and Kubrat Pulev. They're all top 15 heavyweights. Some of them are top 5, but you're still losing. And if you're not prepared to drop down a level and fight guys who, you can beat or aren't 50-50 fights, then you've got to consider... Right there, mate. You've got to consider and question what you're doing, and I think there's pressure on Chisora tomorrow night. I think he must win it.
Is it mad to think David Hayes over there? Next week is the 10-year anniversary when Derek Chisora and David Hayes.
I think Derek's a better fighter now. Honestly, like if you look at who he's been competing against, even in defeat. When he boxed Dillian White, the first fight was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Very close fight, could have gone either way. The second fight, he was winning on the scorecards till he got knocked out in the 11th round. Even against Usyk, after 6 rounds, it was all square. And he got beat by a pound for pound great fighter. So Derek's just learned how to be a very good tough heavyweight, but he really must win.
What did Pulev say to you up there? I saw he dragged your hand a little bit.
He's so strong. I mean, when he pulls your hand and pulls you about, he crushes you, and we saw that yesterday. And that's one of the dangers for Derek Chisora in this fight. Pulev's very good at tying you up. He's got that stand-up European style where he can sort of jab and grab, and Derek's got to be really careful not to get frustrated in there because he wants to set a pace. He wants to make Pulev fight, and Pulev might want to box him. So Derek's got to make it uncomfortable for him and force the pace from very early in this fight.
Well, we look forward to a great night of boxing tomorrow night. Eddie, just a couple of other things. I know the boys have hounded you all week, but let me just fire away a couple of quick fire questions. Reports last night about Sky Sports winning the rights for anti-Joshua Usyk. My question is, Dazn make an announcement that say they've grabbed Joshua, they've got this deal, but from the public's perspective, why announce something when you haven't really got the most important fight that's next for anti-Joshua?
It was always the case. The rights weren't available for the Saudi Arabia fight. It was always going open market. What Joshua's done, he's pledged his long-term future in the sport to Dazn. But this fight was always outside of that agreement. So that deal was announced because it was signed. But the Saudi deal was never done with Dazn. And they were always going to open market. It wasn't a process that we were involved with, but I've seen some of the numbers floating around. It's incredible. And
28 million,
30 million, or something like that. So it shows you the size of the fight. And I don't know the official announcements or who gets what rights globally. We always knew when we did this deal that it was a complete payment for site fee and all rights. So this was one that we wasn't involved with.
But wasn't there pressure from obviously Dazn being your partners to say that make sure that we get this fight?
We had no involvement in the process. So they knew that. We didn't own the rights for this fight. Saudi did. So they went out and ultimately took probably the biggest offer, which was always expected.
So are you 100% at this point land on Dazn now?
I don't know. I'm not involved in that process. I saw reports. I mean, seems to be quite a few substantial reports. So obviously we talked to those guys, and we're aware of conversations from both sides, but not involved in any way in any of the negotiation process. So I'm not aware of if it's done. It sounds like it's done, but we'll wait for an official announcement.
Does that, by having Sky involved, does that make any difference to what the card looks like? Or
no, we've got our agreement within the contract for the undercard. Obviously it's a matchroom show with skills challenge. So yeah, we have our fights that are set for that card, and we'll announce them in due course.
Sonny Edwards, hearing reports that there are potentially some negotiations with yourselves and Sonny. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, we're looking to make Julio Cesar Martinez potentially. Obviously, we've got the Arroyo situation that we need to take care of, but we would like to make Julio Cesar Martinez against Sonny Edwards in a unification. I think it's a brilliant fight. I think it's a massive fight as well. Two guys that need to unify. Why not? Let's try and make it happen.
Kell Brook hearing he might come out of retirement.
I heard that the other day. I don't know. Someone said that he might fight Charlo, but I know Charlo's got Tim Tszyu, is it? That's down at light middleweight, so I don't know. But obviously 2 Charlos. Kell could fight up at middleweight, but I'll be surprised if he came back after making that announcement. But listen, money talks.
Conor Benn, any updates? I know you keep referring to fighters who are on the other side of the pond, like they like to say, but is it even worth mentioning people like Thurman and stuff like that when Al won't allow his fighters to maybe...
I think it's a sad moment for the sport if you can't mention fighters that are outside of your stable. I mean, we should always be looking to fight the best, and Keith Thurman is one of the best 147 pounders in the world. So I think that, you know, we've spoken to Louis de Cubas. I've mentioned to him that we'd like to fight Keith Thurman. We'll make an offer, and if it's acceptable, then great. If it's not, then we won't. You know, everyone's asking about Chris Eubank Jr. That's not a fight that we're close to at the moment, but also at the same time we understand the size of that fight. But Conor Benn will be in a big fight end of September, early October for sure.
Lawrence Okolie, I'm not sure. There was a few tweets that he put out last night. What did you make of them?
Very disappointing, to be honest with you. You know, I really feel like we've done a great job for Lawrence Okolie. I feel like he's the fighter and he deserves all the respect, but I feel like we've been a big part of changing his life. You know, I signed him from the GB team. He won British, Commonwealth, European titles. I headlined him quite a few times. I backed him even amongst some poor performances, but he was always jumping in before his time, and I always backed him on that scale. I got him into a number one position with the WBO without really fighting anyone of any note at world level into mandatory position. I got him a vacant world title fight against Glowatsky. I put that as a main event. I then let him defend the title at Spurs in front of 70,000. He then headlined at the O2 and defended it again. I paid him an absolute fortune. I bought him a 50-gram watch because I'm true to my word, and I always promised I would. And I feel that we've done an amazing job for Lawrence Okolie. Amazing job. So I was disappointed with what I saw last night, in all honesty, and I don't mind saying it. He's had an offer, clearly, that obviously there's ongoing issues around that. We have a fight left in our agreement. His lawyers acknowledged that as well. We expect him to honour that. You know, he's on a huge amount of money, and we're aware of the commercials around Lawrence Okolie. He's on a huge amount of money. Best paid cruiserweight out there, right up there with Maurice Bradis. And it's not about trying to create a narrative around it. That's just the facts. We've done an amazing job for Lawrence Okolie. If he feels like he doesn't want to be a part of our team and he doesn't want to work with me, no problem. But like we always honour what commitments we have, the same will be expected to be reciprocated.
What made him tweet this? What, it seems like it's personal.
I guess it's my comments yesterday, but I don't know what those comments are. The facts are he has one fight left on his agreement. We've done a great job with him. He's had an offer, which we've seen. But Sky want him to be the face of Sky Sports Boxing. That's what it says on the proposal. And maybe he wants to take that, but he has one fight left on his contract. We've invested a huge amount of money into Lawrence Okolie. On several occasions, we've absolutely done our bollocks on a lot of those fights. But that's okay, because I was very fond of Lawrence Okolie. I always backed him, always, you know, in my opinion, looked out for him, took care of him. And I'd like to think we've provided him and been part of providing him with a great life and a great future. And he's done a great job in the ring. So from our side, I've always got on great with him, you know, but it was very disappointing to see.
Are we going to see that last fight with yourself? Is that going to take place?
I mean,
do you want for it to take place?
I mean, especially when you see that, you know, you wonder what the point was in the first place. You know, people talk about loyalty in boxing. Boxing's a very tough, brutal sport, and it's great to show loyalty. You should always show it in all walks of form. But sometimes an opportunity presents itself that in this short career you have to take, and we accept that as well. Loyalty is one thing, class is another. And, you know, I don't really understand what's happened here or who's got in his ear, but I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. I don't have an issue with Lawrence Okolie. I was just very, very disappointed with everything that we've done for him with his comments last night.
Eddie, I've been interviewing you for 6-7 years now. I remember flying out for Badou Jack James Daguerre when the American audience saw you and they were impressed with your speech on the podium. Would you say this is the most kind of challenging moment of your promotional career with the competition that you now have with Channel 5, with BT, with Sky?
Not really. I would say the most challenging stage was entering the US market. You know, this is a great time for British boxing because you've got a number of broadcasters spending big money within the market. And it's the way it should be. the biggest challenge for us has been America by far. You know, UK is our bread and butter. You know, we're the biggest promotional company in the world. We have the biggest profile. We have the biggest brand in British boxing, of course. But we have to keep producing. You know, and obviously we have a great schedule coming up. But we're always under pressure to keep producing. And it's great that people will snap at our heels because it will make us keep producing. So September, October, November, December, which is the schedule we put along right now, we need that to be strong because I want it to be better than everybody else. But also, although I've only been doing this for 12 years, I've experienced this many times, Raza. You know what I mean? I've seen people come in, I've seen people get it wrong, I've seen people go bust, I've seen people come back, I've seen people use investment, I've seen people behave inappropriately. We've seen everything. So it's just, for me, I feel more motivated than ever, which is great news for fight fans and our fighters.
Just finally, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury isn't taking place, but he has offered Tommy $500,000 to come over to the UK and fight him. Tommy says he wouldn't even get out of bed for that. What's your thoughts on that? And also Hasim Rahman Jr. being his opponent now for August 6th.
I think Hasim Rahman Jr. is a good choice, actually, because I think he can beat him, and he is a boxer. You know, he lost to, I think, Tommy Morrison's son last time out, got knocked out, but he can, you know, he is a boxer. So I like what Jake's doing, and you know, the Tommy Fury thing's a complete mess. I mean, you just need to move on from that. But you know, good luck to Jake, and I think it's, you know, it's a fair fight.
Eddie Hearn, IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.